Welcome in. Happy Thursday, and welcome to episode 5 of Connected Corrections No Perfect Parents. My name is Shauna Kay, and I am your host, and I'm a parenting and life coach here to help you discover the belief behind your children's misbehavior, specifically your teenagers. And let me tell you, today I wanted to dig deep into mistaken beliefs. I feel like I'm always talking about mistaken beliefs and saying, hey, you need to really get down to the nitty gritty of why the child is acting the way they're acting, and you're going to see how all of that wraps up, and it makes perfect sense. But I want to definitely dive deep into that. Don't really have any hot topics that I wanted to talk about today. I am in a library space, so sound quality may be a little bit weird, but I definitely am excited to jump right into today's episode, and it is going to be one of those episodes where I suggest you grab a pen, grab something to write on, because you're going to need to take notes, honey. This one is definitely going to be one that is going to probably be broken down into a few series, only because, like I said, I really just want you to understand when it comes to mistaken beliefs. Once you are able to crack that code, it will definitely change your perspective when it comes to your teens' misbehavior. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, so I want us to take a new approach with how we view misbehavior, or when our teens are acting out or doing things that we do not like, okay? Now, again, because we are learning to take responsibility for our own actions and we are learning to shift our mindset, I really just want to enter the conversation with just saying that responsibility does not equal blame or shame, not for ourselves and also not for our teens. Okay, there is a saying that Jane Nelson says within Positive Discipline, is that we do not have to make teens or children in general feel worse in order to get them to do better. Now, if you think about that, you don't have, if someone's already feeling bad about something and you want them to do better, the thing to do is not to put them down and make them feel worse about themselves, because chances are that's not going to be the thing that motivates them to do better, which is the end goal or the solution that you wanted in the first place. Okay, so we want to just reframe responsibility as awareness. Okay, your child, whoever you're dealing with in that situation, because I feel like positive discipline can be used not only in the relationship with your teen, but in any relationship that you are in, is that you can change if you choose to do so. Okay, so again, it's not necessarily just bad behavior, it's just lack of awareness. Right, so let's think about it. What is misbehavior? So simply put, it is literally the lack of knowledge or awareness. Okay, again, lack of effective skills, or just a simply discouraged teen. If you think about it, it's the same way for us as adults. When we are upset, it is almost natural for us to go to our primitive brain, which is what? Yelling, screaming, getting defensive. We also sometimes lack the knowledge or the awareness and don't have effective skills to deal with those situations where we feel like things are getting out of control. So what happens in those situations where, again, we're out of control, the child's out of control? Yeah, exactly. Those power struggles. And many times, if you really think about it, teenagers or small children, whichever you have, they're not actually misbehaving, but they're more doing things that are actually age appropriate. So we can think about, for example, toddlers and their, when they're crying or fussing or throwing tantrums. As much as that can be seen as misbehavior, it is really just them, again, communicating within their age group. Same thing, again, like teenagers, even though the expectation is for them to know better or already know what to do, many times it's them not being able to really understand how to achieve belonging and significance, because we know obviously those are the two main things that people in general seek. Okay, and this is going to bring us to open up the conversation about mistaken goals. And I know that was a lot of information, but I just wanted to just lay the baseline, so when we get into mistaken goals, you can just already really just understand why it is important, again, to understand the belief behind the behavior. Because in many different parenting programs, I tend to find that they are addressing how to control or manipulate the behavior, when, again, understanding the belief behind the behavior is going to really just help you reframe how you see misbehavior. Once you can see that it is just decoding the child's misbehavior and really just understanding what is it that they are trying to tell you. So let's move into the next segment. Okay, so let's start out with the 4 mistaken goals. And they are called this because they are based on mistaken beliefs, again, on how to achieve significance and belonging, which is, again, the baseline of what all teens or humans, like I said, in general, just want to feel. So the first one we're going to start with is undue attention. And the mistaken belief is that I only belong when I have your attention. Second mistaken belief is misguided power. Okay? And that mistaken belief is I only belong when I am the boss, so I will not let you boss me. Then we have revenge, and the mistaken belief behind revenge is I don't belong, but at least I know how to hurt back. Then you have assumed inadequacy, and the mistaken belief is I give up when it is impossible to belong. Now, teens don't really understand why they act out. And if you ask them in the moment, it's probably going to be some type of surface level answer, which is, I don't know. But really, again, the belief behind that is really just, again, how to feel significant and how to feel like they belong. Now, there are cues that do help us identify the mistaken beliefs and the goals, okay? And the first one is to discover your own feelings toward the behavior. Okay, again, discovering our own feelings helps us, because when we know how we feel, then we can identify the mistaken goal in the teen. All right, keep in mind, sometimes we think we're upset and frustrated because those are like those surface level feelings. But when we do dig a little bit deeper, we have feelings like inadequacy or even just feeling hurt by something that they did. Now, the second step, again, in identifying, or some cues with identifying the mistaken belief and goals, is the child's response to what we tell them or how we act when they're doing those behaviors. And again, there are ways to encourage the mistaken goals, and there are ways to discourage that, which helps the child, again, change their behavior. Now, if you notice also with your teen that they are in the stage where there are so many other factors as well that determines their misbehavior, such as we know peer pressure, and their brains are not really developed until they are about 25. All right, so a lot of these methods that we are going to go through, you just really have to lead with letting your child know that you are on their side. You are not trying to fight them. You are on the same team as them, and when you win their cooperation, and that's when you're giving mutual respect. So it's not about permissiveness and letting them do whatever you want to do because you want to avoid conflict. Absolutely not. It is still making sure that there is that mutual respect, kindness, and firmness. And again, there is that shared problem solving between you and them. I want to lead you also into one of the exercises that will help kind of tie in mistaken goals, and it is one that you can apply to each one of the 4 mistaken beliefs. And just stay tuned for that in the next clip. Okay, so I know you remember in the last segment where I said the first step to unlocking mistaken beliefs is being able to identify your own feelings, because your feelings do help you break the code. All right, so what is breaking the code of misbehavior? So I will break it down into the 4 different categories, again, for undue attention, misguided power, revenge, and assumed inadequacy. So for undue attention, when you feel, mind you, this is your feelings toward your teen's behavior. So when you feel annoyed, irritated, worried, or guilty, your child's mistaken goal may be undue attention, meaning I only belong when you pay attention to me or take care of me. All right, now when you feel challenged, threatened, or defeated, your child's mistaken goal may be misguided power, meaning I'm the boss, or at least I won't let you boss me. Now when you feel hurt, disappointed, or disgusted, and again, this is sometimes covered up by anger, your child's mistaken goal may be revenge. I feel hurt, so I am going to hurt anybody in my path. Now, when you feel hopeless, helpless, or inadequate, your child's mistaken goal may be assumed inadequacy. I can't do anything right. I give up and just leave me alone. Okay, and again, these are just some examples of how your feelings can just help you understand what your child is trying to say to you in those moments when you find that they are acting up. Okay, and one last thing that I wanted to touch on again before we get into the exercise is I want you to know also as a parent, there are some ways that we actually may contribute to the mistaken goal behavior. All right, so when your teen feels like they do not belong and they don't feel capable, they may actually choose a mistaken goal again in their attempt to belong. All right, so I want you to really think about it. Do you react out of fear that how your teen behave is a sign of who they'll be forever? And again, this tends to sometimes create that self-fulfilling prophecy. So again, I'm going to mention those 4 mistaken beliefs again. And I want you to just really think about if these are any ways that you may contribute to that behavior. Okay, so for undue attention. Again, remember that is, I only belong when you pay attention to me. Now, how can you contribute to that, or how do you contribute to that? Basically thinking, I don't have faith in you to deal with disappointment, or I feel guilty if you are not happy. And I know this is a big one because, again, this is when you find yourself overstepping. You're doing everything for them. You're making sure that they never have to face disappointment. This is calling the teachers on their behalf. And it's them saying, maybe they're not capable of doing it, or if I don't do it, this will happen to their future, and we disguise it that way. But again, that creates that mistaken belief that the only way I can have that belonging, or the only way I can be important to you as a child, is when you are paying attention to me. Outside of that, then I do not know how to seek a positive connection with you. All right, now, misguided power. Again, I only belong when I am the boss, or at least I will not let you boss me. This is your challenging child. This is your child where if you say red, they're going to say blue. If you say up, they're going to say down. All right, and with misguided power, you may contribute to that by, I'm in control and you must do what I say. So as a parent, instead of allowing opportunities or collaborative opportunities to where you come up with solutions together or you make decisions together, chances are you pretty much call the shots and they have to do what you say, which is again going to create that power struggle where it's like they want some sense of control. And because they do not know how to seek it in a healthy way, again, it is going to be like, well, you cannot boss me, so we're gonna, again, always be tussling. All right, the next one is revenge. I don't belong, and that hurts, so I will hurt back. I have heard parents describe this as a teen that can be a little jerk, and many times you're just like, golly, why are you so mean? Not only to your parents, but also to your siblings, or to just people in general. And again, because they cannot belong or feel important in a healthy way, that is what they show up as. Where realistically, again, it's because they feel hurt and they do not know how to belong in a positive way, so they act out. Again, just putting that there. But again, how do you, as an adult, you contribute to that behavior? I worry more about what the neighbors think than what you think. So again, this may be a child that may already feel awkward, may already be awkward. And I use awkward in the sense of just to describe the behavior, not the opposite child. They may dress different. They may have different interests than their peers. And instead of, again, just really getting inside their world and understanding them and allowing them to feel accepted and feel a part, you are more concerned with how weird it may be for them to act this way or be this way, or you may not even understand the things that they are interested in. So that way they feel, again, isolated, and they don't feel good about that, and they almost feel like you're embarrassed of them. And you may very much be, right? But again, it's just really understanding as parents how our positioning may sometimes create these behaviors in our teens. And again, responsibility does not mean what? Shame or blame. So this is not, again, to ridicule or put you down as a parent. It is just, again, to inform you and just give you some positioning and some new perspective on how, again, our behaviors many times contribute, sometimes unknowingly, to our teens' misbehavior or their lack of knowing how to, again, belong and feel important. And the last one is assumed inadequacy. I give up, leave me alone. No, that's that too. No, it doesn't matter. I don't care. It doesn't matter. That's that kind of thing. And how do you contribute to that? I expect you to live up to my high expectations, or I thought it was my job to do things for you. So this is where I have seen this time and time again where a parent, let's say they don't have the high expectations, because I feel like many times we know that example and we can name that example 1,000 times. This is, the parent that just, overbearing. We know that character. But on the other side is, I thought it was my job to do everything for you. This is the parent that continuously does everything for the child because they feel like the child is not capable of doing it for themselves. And because of that, unknowingly, you create a child that, again, I give up, leave me alone. They literally are not capable. Like, again, that's self-fulfilling prophecy where they don't believe that they can, so it's easy for them to give up. It is easy for them to quit. It is easy for them to not even want to try because they just feel like they have to have someone do it for them because that's the only way, again, they are going to be important or belong or fit in. And on that note, again, how you may contribute is not about blame, okay? It is about awareness. And although we have been focusing on, again, the belief behind your teen's behavior, you too, as a parent, have been making decisions since childhood that influence your own behavior, all right? And this is going to lead me into the exercise that I was talking about. So let's get ready for that. Okay, for this portion of the exercise, I am going to use misguided power. And the reason being is because I see that usually in the teenage age, it is that power struggle. I know there are other ones. And again, if you are interested in learning more about these type of activities, you can always go to www.connectedcorrections.org and sign up for my positive discipline workshop. These are some of the interactive activities that we do go through in the workshops. So again, we're doing misguided power. All right, so in the workshop, I do have the parents create a list of challenges that they have with their children. Now, from that list, you would choose something that invited you as a parent to feel challenged, threatened, or defeated. Now, something from that list I can think of off the top of my head usually is like talking back or just being defiant in general. And then I want you to think about, what is it that you did? What did you do in that moment when you felt challenged, threatened, or defeated? Think about that for a second, or you can write it down if you have your paper and pen from earlier. All right, now the third thing I want you to do is, what did your teen do in response to what you did? So for example, if I can set up that scenario, something that made you feel challenged, threatened, or defeated, I can say that I told my teen to do the dishes. They decided to talk back to me and said they don't feel like it. And in that moment, I felt annoyed. Again, I felt challenged. I felt threatened. So what did I do? I yelled at them and said, you need to go wash those dishes right now. And when I yelled at my teen, what was their response is they started to yell back at me, stomping their feet, and slam their door to the bedroom. Number 4, I am now going to get inside my teen's world and guess what they were thinking and what were they learning based on what I did. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you what to think, so I'm going to actually leave that part out. If we were in the workshop, we would be able to role play that. And then at the end, I would ask you what you were thinking, feeling, and deciding about that. But again, for sake of the video, and we're doing this via YouTube, I don't want to prompt you into what you're thinking. So just really think about getting into your teen's world and guess what they were thinking or learning based on what you did. All right, and then you would have had the mistaken goal chart But in the last column, what you would do is go ahead and choose a parenting tool that you would be able to try and track for next time. Again, this is over the span of 7 weeks. So each week you choose something from your parenting tool deck of cards and you apply it, and it gives it enough chance to make sure that these things actually work. And while one strategy may not work for every single situation, it really helps when you have a deck of things that you can choose in a situation that does not have to force you to go back to what you're already moving away from, which is yelling, the screaming, or the shame and the blame in those instances. All right, the next thing you're going to do is record what happened when you use that positive discipline parenting tool. Okay, I know you took in a lot for today's episode. I really felt like this was a lot more talking than I usually do. But it is one that I really want you to save this video because you'll be able to reference it and come back over and over and over, because I'm telling you, mistaken beliefs and mistaken goals are literally the core of understanding positive discipline. We are really speaking to the belief behind the behavior, not the behavior itself. If we continue to address the behavior without getting to the core belief, we are going to find ourselves talking over and over in circles over and over again. But when you can really connect with your child on a deeper level and help them understand how to belong and how to feel important, remember, it is connection before correction, you will see how much easier it is to influence them. They are always going to feel more connected to someone that they have a connection with. And that's why I said it is so important to make sure that you always just work on that core relationship that you have with your team, because it is the foundation for building those strong, everlasting relationships. I am so glad that you guys are here joining me on episode 5. Please make sure, if you have not already caught up on some of my previous videos, go ahead and do so now. Hit the subscribe button and please share this video with someone you think can get some gems from it. I really appreciate you guys. Meet me in the comments like you always do. Love you. See you next week.